going to, require at some point in time to do anything. But I know that I can be conscious and self-aware, and do what I can for me to try and get more away, from the sides of things that I look at and feel, and get closer to the middle with everything as possible too, and just to not to talk about it. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm not telling you to not do anything. I'm just giving you my thoughts and hopefully opening a dialogue. Food for thought, reflection, things like that. And that's all I can do. That's all anyone can do. But what's the harm in trying? Can't hurt and try. And who knows? It might not make a difference on everybody, but it still might make a difference for you or me, which would be cool. And if enough people did it, then who knows? Maybe it would make enough difference, or some difference for everybody. But anyway, can't believe how the police officers working security at the Lynx game responded to the shirts that the basketball team wore in the wake of the 3 events that took place in Baton Rouge, Falcon Heights, and Dallas since we last talked. Absolutely just unacceptable and inexplainable, and I'm trying to put the fire out. Thank you for listening, and whether you agree with everything, anything, or nothing that I said, thank you at least for allowing me to speak my mind on those issues or those thoughts and feelings that I've been having, and you probably have too. And just, thanks for listening. And if it makes you change any outlooks or perspective, that's totally cool. If it makes you even firmer and stronger in your prior perspectives, that's cool. If it doesn't affect you in any way, shape, or form, if it literally doesn't change anything about how you think or feel, but you at least listened to it and processed it, if you did any of those things, thanks. I appreciate it. All right. Well, let's put this. There we go. Balls on Fire has officially been put out. And we are going to change the mood of the show here for the last hour or so, give or take. Lighten it up, talk nothing but sports, and more sports. Recapping, previewing, whatnot. And, yeah, that's the plan. All right, so I think to go from that serious, more serious than usual, Balls on Fire, we'll go to, and since we're trying to condense stuff here too for the last hour or so, we will go to, we'll do the meat and balls juice here all at the same time. It'll mostly be meat, but there's some balls juice in with it too after that. And then we'll go from there. But so that then would have us, would have us talking about the UFC. Like I said, this past Saturday was UFC 200, the big UFC 200. And this will go down in history. I think what it will be most remembered for is all the times that the main event got changed. If you recall, it was originally supposed to be, just a few months ago, it was supposed to be McGregor versus Diaz 2 was supposed to be the main event, but then McGregor got pulled from the card because he didn't want to do a lot of the promo stuff for the fight that Dana White of the UFC was asking him to do. And so then it got changed to John Bones Jones versus Daniel Cormier. And this was going to be for an undisputed unifying of titles and, just this epic dream match of who's the best and, even better possibly than McGregor-Diaz original main event. and then the weigh-ins happened on Wednesday, and then Wednesday night the poo hit the fan as it was announced hours after the weigh-in and official press conference for the event that main eventer John Bones Jones had failed a drug test, allegedly, potentially, conducted by the USADA. So he had to be immediately removed from the card, and it was now what's going to be the main event. So then, when that happened, they announced that the co-main event match featuring Mark Hunt, Super Samoan, versus the returning Brock Lesnar was going to be the main event. Then they announced that, McGregor lobbied to get put back on. All kinds of people lobbied to fight Cormier in Bones' place. But ultimately, with just 2 days before the event, on Thursday, Anderson Spider Silva agreed to take the fight against to me, much larger, to an average person, not all that much larger, but, to me and in the fighting game, a much larger Daniel Cormier. So he got to stay on the card and have a match. However, that Dream Spider versus Cormier match, kind of fantasy match, I should say, not more of a dream match, but more of a fantasy match, was not the main event, and Brock Hunt then was also removed from the main event, and the Bantamweight Championship between champion Miesha Tate and number 4 ranked, but for some reason getting the number 1 contender shot, Amanda Nunes, was moved up to the main event. So it had all these different changes to the main event. The John Bones Jones drama is just crazy. If you know his past, all the times he's gotten into trouble for different things, and then if you were watching all the pre-fight promo stuff with him talking about this is his, redemption story and blah blah blah. But so, it created, I did like the match card much better when it was the Jones Cormier main event. That match is better than the Nunes Tate match or the Silva Cormier match. So the UFC had to offer, they actually went out and offered their money back on tickets. I don't know if they did it for pay-per-view sales or not, but I know they did it for ticket sales. They offered refunds, which is that's bad for business. On your biggest event ever, your UFC 200, Super Bowl 50, WrestleMania 30. This was billed as their biggest event ever, and so to have all of this uncertainty, and chaos, it was crazy. In a way it was good because there was all kinds of news and people talking about it, but in a way it was bad too because you ended up with, in my opinion, a little bit, not significantly, but a little bit less of a product as a result of everything that transpired. But so John Bones Jones, again, involved in some very balls juicy activities outside of the octagon. Uncertain is his future. Indeed, uncertain is his future. Don't know why my sentence structure went Yoda mode there, but it will be interesting to see how it plays out. His B sample tested dirty as well. Unlikely that his appeal will go very well, or very much in his favor, I should say. And very interesting to see if he'll ever fight in UFC ever again. I'm sure he'll fight MMA again, but it might have to be, outside of UFC in a different promotion like Bellator or whatever. But, like I said, the event itself, overall, if you watched the entire event, it had tons of great matches on the match card. and I couldn't have enjoyed it more. I mean, it really was just, Saturday was a fantastic day for me. Went to the zoo with the wife and kids, then came home, started watching UFC 200, freaking had an awesome supper. Like, it was the bomb, man. It was just a great way, though. The whole day was great, and UFC 200 was a big part of it. I'm in no way complaining about it, just, showing you both sides, because that's how I am. I'm two sides to every coin. This type of person. It's how I roll. Okay, but so let's go over all the different fights and results, kind of what I expected and what happened. On the undercard, we'll start in chronological order. The very first fight of the night, starting off on the online prelims, was Jim Miller versus Takanori Gomi, and as I and most people predicted, Jim Miller won that fight fairly convincingly, as a matter of fact. He won a TKO from strikes at 2:18 of round one, so yeah, very convincing. Then in the next match, we had Gegard Mousasi, or Mousasi, I'm not sure how you say his last name. He defeated Thiago Santos. That was another one. I had Mousasi in most of my DraftKings lineups, or at least in a good portion of them. He won via knockout punch at 4:32 of round one. And then in the final match on the online prelims, a match that should have been higher up on the card in my opinion, I don't know how this was this far down, Joe Lauzon defeated Diego Sanchez, who I had Sanchez picked on most of mine. So that one I did get wrong in my predictions. Lauzon defeated Sanchez via technical knockout from strikes at 1:26 of round one. All three of those fights ended in the first round via knockout or technical knockout. And the unfortunate part about that is my son, this was his first time watching a big UFC event, and so he wanted like as much diversity as possible in matches and outcomes and things like that. And so you've got all these highlight knockouts, and crazy endings in the first three fights that aren't televised in any way. You got to go online to watch them. And then we get to the first fight of the televised prelims, and we watched every fight from there on out, and all you get is unanimous decision, unanimous decision, unanimous decision, unanimous decision. For the whole rest of the undercard, it was all unanimous decisions on the next four matches. It wasn't until the first match of the main card that we finally got something other than a unanimous decision that we got to see on, televised or pay-per-view stuff. But so anyway, the Fox Sports prelim started off with Sage Northcutt defeating Enrique Marin. Northcutt was heavily favored. I picked him as well. He won via unanimous decision, 29-28, 29-28, 29-28. It ended up being an extremely close, good fight, and honestly, in my opinion, it was the best fight of the night. Or at least, a fight of the night nominee. We'll do that. It was a fight of the night nominee, and honestly, if I had to, from a quality standpoint, an entertainment standpoint, it would have to get my vote if I could only vote for one. There you go. Following that, we had another great match, which, in my opinion, was another match of the night nominee. T.J. Dillashaw defeating Rafael how'd they say it? Assunção? Yeah, I think Rafael Assunção. That's what we'll say. Dillashaw won that a little more convincingly via unanimous decision, all judges scoring at 30-27. That was followed by Kelvin Gastelum defeating Johnny Hendricks, upsetting Johnny Hendricks, the favorite, and my pick, via unanimous decision, 29-28, 30-27, 30-27. Now, I totally get the 29-28 judge scoring it for Gastelum, but the 30-27 scores from the other two judges, I do not understand. I honestly could have seen this, and I thought this should have been a split decision victory, and then I would have been cool with whoever it went to, either Gastelum or Hendricks.